Hello. Is this on? Probably not.
No.
You can hear me though?
Yeah.
Correct take? All right. Music into my everybody. Jake and Lucy, I know Susan was always so proud of you, Lucy. That's incredible. Very special to have them there today. For those of you who don't know, I am Susan's nephew. I am Graham Gordon, John's son. If you know Dad, John, you can tell. I'm his kid. Thank you so much for being here today to honor Susan McKenzie. I tried long and hard to think of words to describe how it feels to lose someone you love. And forgive me, all I could come up with is it fucking sucks. It really does. But we are lucky to have known Susan, to have Susan in our lives, to have been loved by Susan, because that is something really special. When she loves you, you know it. She loves fiercely and loyally, and it is a special feeling. Susan was my #1 fan. For those of you who don't know, I was a hockey player, and I did relatively well decades ago. Played for a team up in Vernon that made it to the national champions and won 2 years in a row, and Susan was there every step of the way. She listened to every single game. She was always willing to break it down. I mean, my dad and mom, #1 supporters, but Susan was my biggest fan, and that was really, really special. I will always remember that. I know Papa was always a big supporter of me, but never got to see my success when I got older in hockey, and with Susan cheering me on, it felt like Papa was there as well. Getting into this, we will have more music from Music Intima. and we will have some speeches as well, I think, towards the end. If anyone wants to do anything and share their memories of Susan, that will happen. But right now, we are going to bring up her beautiful daughters, Allison and Christine McKenzie, to speak.
Can we not get the mic working?
Maybe.
Allie, everybody will hear you, don't worry.
You think so?
I know so.
All right. Hi, everyone. I actually hadn't planned to say much because I'm one of those ones that breaks down when I try, but I just want to thank everyone so much for coming. Some of you traveled. My little sister Frances came from Montreal. That's so huge. I love you so much. And just all the love and support we've had, our cousins that have made this happen, and my uncle, so just thanks so much. So I guess it's going to be a common theme because she was fiercely loyal. And she loved each of us dearly. I've actually never known such an unconditional love, and that's what I'm probably going to miss the most. I was her baby girl and felt like it for 53 years. We were really fortunate to have last June with Mom. She came up and spent a month with us in the Okanagan, and it was amazing. We went boating and we drank and laughed and ate and just had such a wonderful time. So I'm really grateful for that memory. Can't believe it was a year ago already, but my life changed on September 20th, 2023, when I got that devastating call. I'll never be the same person, but I'm going to try every day to make her proud. Okay. Yeah.
Cheers.
I'm Christine, Susan's oldest daughter. So, obviously we've had a lot of time to prepare for this day. I've been thinking long and hard about sharing something with you all today. There's so much to share. To pick one memory that really can capture sort of the essence of how amazing my mom was. I have so many amazing memories, but one that really just kind of kept repeating itself to me was one of the early on selfless, generous things that my mom did for me. She encouraged and supported my love for horses at a very young age, starting off with riding lessons with my godmother, Fran, and not long after that did Fran and my mom find a horse and bought her for me. Her name was Beauty. For close to a decade, Mom boarded Beauty at different stables, got me to the barn, early mornings, late at night. Christmases, I'd wake up and there was an English riding saddle and bridles, and I got all the clothes that I needed, and she registered me, and I got to do a lot of showing for a long time. We would be at the barn sometimes at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning to get Beauty ready for a horse show and towed to whatever show we were attending. So, yeah. So it was such a huge financial commitment, and one of the most selfless, generous things that my mom did for me to encourage me. And as Allie got a little older, she too had fun times at the stables and riding Beauty. I remember this one time, I'd be a teen by now, and Beauty lived at Nan's place in South Surrey. I think I might have got this memory mixed up with a Langley event, but nonetheless the event occurred. We decided that we weren't going to call the fella to come and trailer Beauty to go to a horse show. Rather, we'd go to Sunshine Trailer Rentals and get a horse trailer.
Do it ourselves.
And we would do it ourselves. So, Mom was practicing. I think we had an old green station wagon that was huge, so it could tow a horse trailer. And she was practicing backing up and maneuvering this trailer around out at Sunshine Rental parking lot in Langley. And after a little while, she felt like she could do it, and this was no problem. We could back down the driveway, and so we did. We headed back to Nan's, but do you think that the horse would get on the horse trailer? There was no way. I cried, Mom yelled, I yelled, Mom cried.
Anne screamed.
We tried.
Joe yelled.
Joe yelled.
We tried everything for hours, but there was just no way. Beauty was like, nah, this is not happening. That's too small. We always trailered her on like big cattle trucks or 9-horse trailers, but we didn't realize that she had this aversion to a 2-horse trailer. So we learned her lesson that day, and I believe I had to ride or not go, just ride her or not go to the horse show that day. But actually, Beauty taught us many, many lessons over the years and helped to shape who I became as a person. So I'm so grateful. Mom always showed us how deeply she loved us. There was just nothing ever that she wouldn't do for her girls. I'm just gonna say one more thing. Mom's youngest grandson, Colton, couldn't be here with us today, but he just wanted me to say that he wants to make his grandmother proud of him. But he loves her, and after I moved to the Okanagan 3 years ago, he spent a lot of time just going and visiting her and spending time with her. So that's
Okay. So I'm going to read something from my mom's friend. Sorry.
We all know Fran.
Unfortunately, Fran is too ill to travel, but she did send us this, so I'm going to read it for her. My friend Sue. Sue and I met in grade 10 at Hillside School in West Vancouver. She was 14 and I was 15. I remember the day like it was yesterday. My matches fell out of my purse into the classroom and she said, "Do you smoke?" And we were friends from that day on. She was always Sue to me. I never called her Susan. Weird. I guess I never knew that person. My son to this day refers to her as Auntie Sue. Our teen years were lots of fun with many ups and downs and angry parents. We used to skip school, go to the smoke pit, or take off in my car. I never got caught, but for some reason, Sue always got caught. Funny how that worked. Boys were involved too, of course. We played school field hockey and basketball. She was a very good athlete. Me, not so much. She gave me many bruises during our practices. Sue also liked the ski team, or was also on the ski team. It was the Gordons who introduced me to skiing. I was not good at that either, but Sue would stay with me as I slowly made my way down the mountain. I guess that was the teacher in her, even then. She also spent many fun weeks at our ranch near Ashcroft. Yes, we got into trouble there too. Boys again, sneaking out at night. We did ride horses too, but that was usually to ride into town to get dates for that night. I think Sue was there when my mother ordered us back to Vancouver for some bad things we did, sorry. In our adult years, we took different paths. We always kept in touch. I saw Sue whenever I was in town. Christine and Allison were the light of her life. They also gave her a run for their money as teenagers, just like we had done to our parents. She always stood by you girls and was so proud of you both. Sue was at my place in Campbell River when Caleb was released from hospital when he was born. She was beside herself because she couldn't be there with Chris. I think she thought Chris just couldn't do it without her. She adored Caleb and Colton so much. Susan was very proud of her siblings, Karen and John, and their families. She was always telling me stories about their accomplishments. Sue and I traveled to my son's sporting events throughout BC, Nelson Trail, Prince George, to name a few. Then we'd make pit stops at Nan's cabin on Little Shoe Swap. Lots of great memories of the cabin. We took Helen there a few times, and Chris and the kids and Allie. More recently, we cruised together. We did many cruises together. We were like an old married couple. I didn't have to worry about keeping the bathroom tidy or leaving the clothes around. Sue would just ignore it and pick up after me. I did the same for her. We laughed, we cried, we fought. Yes, we fought. We always had at least one fisticuff per trip, whether it was to the lake or on a cruise. No one ever won, and then we forgot about it and carried on. I miss her so much, I can't even imagine going on a road trip or a cruise with anyone else. We were as different as day and night, but for some reason we put up with one another. I will never have another friend like Sue. So many times I want to call her and tell her something, or usually ask her something, but I can't.
Once again, music into them. next up we have John and Karen to read some words. Susan's brother and sister, as we all know.
Well, that was indescribably beautiful.
Same thing.
Thanks everybody for coming. The last 9 months have been a really different time for our family. So much reflection, so much remembering, and we've become so much closer. And we know each other so much better. And Susan would be very pleased because she felt it was her responsibility to keep our family together after her parents died. She told me this. So I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. And so even in death, she's continuing to make that happen. I think she'd be very pleased. You know, we lost our matriarch, but feel her with us every day. And there's rarely been a day, and I've heard other people say that, man, that I don't think, but I should tell Susan, we gotta phone her and tell her about this. You know, we have to talk tennis, and I can't do that. I remember Susan as a bright and brilliant child. And as a bright and brilliant and rebellious teenager. Because she was 4 years older, but really more than that, because she was very precocious. We didn't really hang out very much. The 2 weeks every year spent at Christina Lake were when we saw each other most. Reading comics, eating spits, water skiing, sailing, slathering ourselves with baby oil. In the hot Kootenai sun, we really did that. And then there was the Christina Lake post office burglary. So this is a great memory. She and her friend Sharon Vance were at the Cool Treat one evening. They were coming home past the tiny little Christina Lake post office, and they could hear men in the back talking, and it was closed, and so these guys were yelling, and so they came charging home, told my dad and Bill Vance, and somehow they were able to contact police, but I don't know how, because we didn't have cell phones back then. There was no phone on the cabin, but so the burglary was interrupted, and they foiled this burglary. So they're very, very proud of themselves for having done that. That was a good one. Skiing at Grouse Mountain with Susan was also a favorite memory. It was something that she and I would do often, and it cost us 25 cents a run. And you'd have a pocket full of quarters, and you just hand a quarter to the lift attendant as you got on the chair. And we would spend a lot of time in the warming hut too, just sitting around. But one day, I remember we spent the entire afternoon in the warming hut listening to just released Beatles songs. She was 15, I was 11. I had heard a lot about Susan's exemplary teaching even before I became a teacher myself. And a couple of colleagues have written some words about her, and we'll hear some more about that. I'm going to read one from Judy Miranda, a colleague of hers. I had the incredible experience of working for 2 years at the same school as Susan. The principal thought it was funny that he hired what he called a sister act. We had both posted there in 2002 with our friend Diane Howe. To see her in action with her grade 7s was extraordinary. She was fair, strict, understanding, consistent. She wanted the best for each kid and actually made it happen. It was truly inspirational for me to watch her. Her grade 7s were committed to being leaders themselves in their last year of elementary school. So Susan in the school was a leader among teachers too. She did a lot of professional development. She was always a straight captain, of course, and a staff rep. She worked hard for her union at the district level, sitting on the executive committee and bargaining committee in the early 80s. And then she was seconded to the BCTF to sit on the Working and Learning Conditions Committee from 1985 to 1989. We lived far apart recently. Me and Roberts Creek are in New Westminster, so we didn't see enough of each other. Lots of phone calls and texts. We were actually expecting Susan for Thanksgiving, a Thanksgiving stay last year. Martin and I were in Vancouver on the Labor Day weekend of last year, and on the spur of the moment, I drove to New West to see my sister. And that was the last time. Twice. But you know, it's great. We sat and we drank a bottle of wine, like we always did, and we talked and talked and talked. So now I'm going to read this note that Judy Miranda sent. I'm honored to be asked to write a few words about Susan. I'm sorry I couldn't be there to celebrate Susan's life with her family and friends. I've been thinking a lot about Susan since her passing. I met her 35 years ago. I was a new teacher starting my career at Fleetwood Elementary in 1989. I was asked to open up a new grade 3-4 class as enrollment was higher than anticipated. On my first day, I was given a lecture setting up my class even though school had begun. I arrived bright and early to the school and was immediately met by the principal who asked me to cover a grade 7 class as the teacher was running late. I nervously greeted the students and began asking them about their summer. About 20 minutes later, in walks this teacher with her smoothie in hand and a big smile on her face. She apologized for being late and promptly got to teaching. To say Susan had a presence as a teacher is an understatement. She exuded confidence and was in complete control of her students. Her grade 7 students wanted to please her, and Susan got the best out of them. She seemed to gravitate to those students who struggled or wanted to challenge her. She was a beautiful combination of high expectations with clear boundaries, coupled with compassion and kindness. I learned much by just watching Susan. She contributed greatly to the teaching profession. She was a strong union advocate and believed in improving the working conditions of all educators. Susan encouraged me to get involved in the union. With her guidance, I became a union rep. Susan could play in both worlds of being a strong union advocate and collaborating with administrators. When I met her, she was deeply involved in professional development and planned many learning sessions for our school team. She put on some of the best professional development that I've ever had. Susan was not only a colleague, but she became my friend. We forged a deep relationship that went beyond our work. We enjoyed many dinners out, walks in Stanley Park, visits with her father in West Vancouver. I refer to Susan and our friends Denny and Linda as my guardian angels. They helped me grow as a person and became my support network that changed my life. I'm truly grateful to them and to Susan for being my guide.
Hi, I'm Lucy. I'm one of Susan's nieces and Karen's daughter. I just wanted to read some words from another colleague and friend of Susan's, Diane House, here today. When I think of Susan, I think of a master teacher, a loyal, longtime friend, and someone who held great pride and love for her family. I first met Susan when I went to teach at Fleetwood Elementary as a very new teacher in 1988. Susan was one of the first people to welcome me to the school, and I soon learned that I could depend on her for support and guidance. She was always available to help and to listen. Her knowledge of teaching and of the teachers' union negotiations and contracts was remarkable. With Susan, you always knew where you stood. She was not a game player, and she was never afraid to defend her opinion or the issues in which she believed. I once had the experience of Susan mediating a conflict within a school, and her leadership skills were excellent. It was amazing to watch her work through a very difficult situation, calmly and in a respectful, caring manner. Susan taught me so much about teaching. Watching her in action with her students relayed the respect and joy she held for children and for her profession. She always strove for fairness and acceptance and encouraged each of her students to be the best they could be. Now, as a friend, I found Susan to be a friend whose smile reached all the way to her eyes whenever we met. She could be brutally honest when I needed it, and equally as comforting when she knew I was hurting. We had great fun together, from staff golf tournaments to teachers' volleyball games to dinners out and gatherings at the pub.
There was always so much laughter and such good times. I hadn't had much contact with Susan these last 2 years, but Karen kept me up to date on her doings. And then one day, Susan called to see if I would be attending a mutual friend's memorial. I was not, but we had a lovely chat, reminiscing about our teaching time together and just getting caught up. Thoughts and memories of Susan will always warm my heart.
Nice. I'll be brief. We have food to come. It's a letter. My dear sister, distances and adventures were always calling you. When, as a toddler, you would leave your crib and our frantic parents would find you on the road behind the house. And when, as a teenager, you were still climbing out of windows, giving Helen and Ernie fits. And later, when, as a young woman, single parenthood kept you closer to home, you were productive, earning your teacher's credentials, and embarking on a long and successful career as a teacher and coach of kids transitioning from children to teenagers. And I cannot conceive of the responsibility you carried in that role. Still, here and there, the travel bug would reassert itself through trips to Europe with Karen, and much later to Ireland with Karen and our mother. And most recently, you found adventures in cruises, traveling far and wide with your dear and nearly lifelong friend, Fran Mims. In your life, you were always marching to your own drum, always breaking barriers, often disregarding social conventions and seeking your own happiness. Throughout your life, you taught us that zest for life counts for more than norms and regulations, that everything starts and ends with family and friends, that fierce loyalty brings fulfillment, that embracing the other, the different, and the unknown opens up and expands our hearts. It most definitely opened yours. Your big loving heart cheered at all of our lives' ups and downs. You remembered all of our birthdays and anniversaries. You forged unbreakable bonds with cousins and colleagues, nephews and nieces. You were always running ahead, seeing things the rest of us didn't see, and we struggled as we tried to keep up with you. Wherever you may be now, I hope that you can visit all the places you wanted to see, and I hope there is a 60-inch top-of-the-line TV with soundbar showing all the tennis and sports you love to watch, even curling. Wherever you are now, I hope Gaga and Papa and Lindsay are sailing with you along some coastal shore, enjoying beautiful sunsets. And I hope Joe is dropping by your patio to share a joke and a story with you. I'll finish this letter with a quotation. When love for a person is so profound that it is part of who you are, then the absence of that person becomes part of your DNA, your bones, your skin. I love you and I miss you. Your brother.
Next, we have some words that my mother wanted to share. Jan Bryant, she could not be here, unfortunately, but her daughter, my sister, Margo Young, is going to share with you.
From my mom. Remembering Susan. I remember Susan as brave and fiercely loyal, with no artifice about her. You knew where you stood with her. If she loved you, you knew it. She did not suffer fools gladly, and would tell you if she thought you were acting like one. She was deeply moved by Lindsay's death, and she was one of the few people who could talk easily with her about her with me, remembered her death and birthdays, and sent me a message or called me. She was Graham's biggest fan, and sometimes came to his home games in his teen years. When he was playing for the Vernon Vipers, we would listen to the BCHL broadcast of the games and talk on the phone during intermission. I remember fondly our road trips to Vernon, where we stayed with Allison and experienced the excitement of the Vipers playing in a sold-out rink with a very supportive hometown crowd behind them. I have brothers, so I was grateful that after the divorce, Susan said, "You're still my sister," and kept our relationship. We would talk on the phone every couple of weeks for an hour or so, and she included me in an occasional get-together on her patio and events in her life. I miss her laugh and still see or hear things and think, oh, Susan would be interested in that. Her death leaves a big hole in our hearts, especially so for Allison and Christine. She loved you so much. I hope that in time your memories of her will be a comfort to you and you experience her love instead of the pain of her absence.
Once again, music and smile. That is it for the official portion of this. We got the microphone working, that's great. You think the guy who professionally does this would be able to be the one who figured it out? No? That's fine. We're gonna have some food. If anyone at any point wants to come up and share anything, any stories, any memories, that is welcome. Just talking to Allison, the overarching theme of every speech is just how fiercely loyal and loving Susan was to those that she loved. If there's anything that I can keep alive myself of Susan other than the bunions, which I absolutely have. If you want to see the toe that goes all the way across the feet, I'll take my shoes off later. If you're missing that off, I have it. But what I hope to keep alive is how much Susan celebrated your wins, whether it was her brother, sister, nephew, niece, your friend. If you had a win, to Susan, it was her win as well, and that's something I hope to keep alive. So thank you so much, and yeah, that's it.
I assume they don't need a signal.
Okay, how are you?
You guys did well. Everybody did well.
Yeah. It's not red.
Correct, yeah.
It's okay, I don't have COVID, we're good. Yeah. With Caleb, Chrissy's son. Yeah, with the Duke.
Yeah, with the hat on.
Sorry, excuse me. I just wanted to get everyone's attention one more time real quick because there's one thing we forgot to mention today. And I would like everyone to cheers because today, Mom, Susan would have been 76 years old. So happy birthday, Mom.